Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starring Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Chloe Bennett, Elizabeth Henstridge, Henry Simmons, Natalia Cordova Buckley, Jeff Ward.
Need to get paid for my work. I'll just eat my legs for breakfast.
Oh. Hello? What's that one that's going? Oh, it's the... Hi, guys! Oh my gosh. Zach's here for technical support again. Okay, I feel like I'm a little bit better at this now. Oh my gosh, Nora!
Hey! How's it going, guys?
Good, I literally just signed in.
Oh, great.
I can't believe that this is working so far.
I know. It's a delight to see your face.
Oh my gosh, you too. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is Nora Zuckerman, who wrote this week's episode with her sister Lila.
Who couldn't be here but sends her best.
Yes, I miss you guys. And you're on hiatus right now from your new show, right?
That's correct. I'm currently on Prodigal Son. So, oops, sorry.
So excited.
I'm currently on Prodigal Son, and we start up our room very soon for the next season. But we literally finished S.H.I.E.L.D. and went to Prodigal Son like a week later. So,
oh my gosh.
And as soon as our hiatus came, the quarantine happened. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's how it's been.
I thought I'd quickly read a summary of what this episode is before we start.
Great.
And then, so it is written by Nora and Lila Zuckerman. It is called, what's it called again? Alien Commies from the Future.
Exactly.
Did you come up with that title?
I think we had a few working titles, but yeah, ultimately, I think the whole room sort of decided that was the one that had the best ring to it. So
funny. I love this season. It's so fun.
It felt like a cool 50s kind of great monster movie title, and
yeah, it's so awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And this was a real blast, this episode.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really excited for people to see it.
I know, me too. I haven't seen it because obviously we do ADR, which is where you go and dub your lines.
Right.
Just in case there's bits where the sound isn't great, and we don't see it in the finished product though, so I'm excited.
And we see when we go in to do the final mix, we see a version of it that has most of the VFX done, but it's never complete. And so when we see it, air for the first time is like when it truly like pops and looks magical and is color timed and is beautiful, and and this one in particular, I think this is like one of the best looking episodes of the show we've ever done.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So you don't, so you see the final product when everybody else does.
Yeah, I mean, but we see probably the 95% done version.
Right.
So I see it as close as possible, but it's really not totally complete until it airs. So,
right.
And some of the episodes I try to avoid seeing the very last cut of because I want to be surprised. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way too.
Yeah, there's something about seeing it on a bigger screen, like in your house, than maybe in the editor's room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although they have some pretty big screens in there too.
No, they really do, and they're sticklers about it. And then I heard recently, just so people are aware, that the best sound, according to our sound guy, comes from like iTunes. If you download the episodes directly from iTunes, you get the sound mix.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, I muted it.
Hi! Oh my gosh, your hair!
I know, it's so long. You guys look so good.
Here.
I can't get out of my quarantine look, which is no makeup and I don't do my hair, and I have gym shorts on.
Well, you don't need to do any of those things. You look amazing.
Oh.
This is Nina, the director of this episode, just FYI. I was just about to say the tagline of, well, not the tagline, but the description of this episode to set it up before it starts in 1 minute. So it is a surprise leap forward in time strands Enoch in 1931. Oh, Enoch, that was so sad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And lands the team in another unfamiliar decade. In order to stop the Chronicoms from launching their future dismantling plan, the agents must infiltrate one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s most secure bases. I know. We were just saying, Nina, how fun this episode was.
It was so much fun. I wasn't even supposed to do this episode.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because we had been assigned the episode, and we worked with Nina last year as well on the episode The Sign. So we were so excited that schedule shifted, and we were like, Nina, of course, great, dream team. So it was really fun.
That's so great. Oh wait, it started. Right, start.
Okay.
I keep meaning to do a countdown because a lot of people aren't going to be watching the episode when we are, and every week I forget. So there we go.
Oh yes, and that one.
I just want you to notice that I wore my Shield fleece, but now I'm just going to take it off. Okay.
It's like 90 degrees in Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh! And I turned my AC off so it wasn't loud.
I love it. You got kind of like the 50s collar. You kind of go in theme a little bit here.
Oh my gosh, you're right. And I put lemons in the background because I don't know if you can see the chat. Probably can't see the chat, but everybody puts lemons on it, which is really nice because of the obsession with lemons. And I have to very quickly say hello to the Ultimates GC. Hi, Ultimates GC. That was a big thing that I needed to do. Okay, so we started the episode, and we are. Can you see the episode, Nina?
I can see it, but that's what I was trying to figure out. So I muted myself. Do you know how to turn off the volume so that you guys can't hear?
Oh no.
Are you watching it?
I'm watching it, but I've got it on a different screen.
Oh.
So this shot, Nina, how did you do this so that we're so high above this truck?
Oh, this was
I can't hear you.
Oh,
can't hear you.
I think we're mute. Nina,
you're muted. I unmuted. This shot we used a techno crane, and this was a pretty cold night up in the desert.
And those kids were great. Like they did not complain at
good.
all, and it was freezing.
Yeah, because it gets cold in California at night.
Yeah.
It was pretty cold, and actually, it's a funny little story. The sign, when they zoom past the sign, did we get there yet?
Not yet. We're just at the point where the Zephyr is flying over the top of them.
Ooh, it's coming soon.
And now we're all running around in the. Oh my gosh, I remember these scenes of just. Those scenes are all. So what we've just all run down the corridor all together, and
right.
I mean, I really feel for the directors whenever there's all of us in a scene because number one, it's impossible, and number two, when all you've got to do in a day is run down a corridor, you're not concentrating that much. So as actors, we can get quite naughty. So that's amazing you got through that day, Nina.
We made it.
But what were you going to say about that? What is a techno crane? Oh no, we lost her.
Oh no, we lost.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So the techno crane is it's this big thing. It's on 4 wheels, and there's a big arm that reaches out. That one was a 50-foot techno crane. So it reaches out 50, and we put the camera at the end, and it has a remote head so that it can go sideways and forward and back and all the way around. And so it's one of those really cool pieces of equipment that you usually have to beg for on a show to get. Yeah. And so it was a really exciting night there. But when the car zooms past that sign, when we got that sign, it was like the most beautiful, perfect sign we'd ever seen in our life. And it was supposed to be old, but it's like nighttime in the middle of the desert. And so everyone's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I just look at a grip and I'm like, get me an axe. And like, I'm just like out there, like hitting this sign with like an axe. And like the whole crew is just looking at me like I've lost my mind completely.
You're gonna love this sign though, because it does look good.
Yeah, it looks great. No, you were right.
It's little things like that. Well, not little things, but I think as a director, and what makes you such an incredible director too, is that it's all about the details of, it's one thing having a perfect sign, but it's got to look like it was written in the script, which was kind of old and battered and
and everything. Were you there that night?
And it's a reveal. Yeah, were you there that day? Or you were there during the... No, you weren't there.
I wasn't there that night, no. we were at that same location another time.
That's
'Cause I
right.
was trying to remember if I shadowed you on this episode, Nina, but I don't think I did. Or did I?
I think you did. I think this was it. Yeah,
A bit of it. But I think you were shooting this day. But you were out there for the Shockley episode, Boom, which Lil and I also wrote. All of that stuff on the street where Shockley's exploding and all that stuff, that was all shot right basically near where all the desert stuff was.
I must have been shooting that day in the different unit then. Because there's
think you were.
parts of, because I just watched it and because I thought so I got to shadow Nina on one or maybe 2 episodes that you've directed.
I think 2. I think you did partial 1 and then just because of your schedule. Yeah.
And that is because Nina's just such an amazing director, and you foster talent, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here. And the same with you, Nora, is that you both have such a desire to cultivate the next filmmakers and writers, and so that's just such a brilliant quality about both of you, just so that everybody is aware.
And there's nothing more fun than being behind the monitors with like mostly women, I'll just say.
Hey,
and this was one of those cases. It was great.
It was.
Yeah, it was very, because then Mel or Scripty is
right.
No,
it's like the girl zone for an episode.
I know. So right now we're in the Zephyr, and we're all in this big group scene. Nora, do you like writing big group scenes like this? Is it hard to, because
I think
there's so much story, right?
Yeah, I think they can be really tough. And a scene like this, which almost every episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to have a scene like this, where everybody's giving out information. And as a writer, what you really try to do is give everybody a point of view. Everybody is worried about something. In this scene in particular, you have concerns about Enoch that you're not sharing with everybody else. And I think trying to highlight that even as people are giving out information that the audience needs to have is one of the most challenging things you can do.
Yeah.
And that Nina gets to cover like every single person, which is its own challenge.
It's fun.
How do you go about that, Nina, in terms of, do you make a shot list for those days when there's everybody in, or do you just kind of pick it off?
I don't. I make a shot list still. So, but sometimes the shot list goes out the window. Like I remember there was one time last season where we were running out of time and I had everybody in it. It's when you guys like the spaceship crashed and you guys had to get into the Zephyr and there was like every single person. And so we just decided, instead of covering the whole thing and a show like S.H.I.E.L.D. that cultivates being creative and coming up with an original idea, we were like, oh, let's come up with a shot that we can do one shot and cover everybody. But you need a really talented cast, like the S.H.I.E.L.D. cast, who can not only act to the camera, but go off of each other so that it all works. And we made it work perfectly. So yes, in some scenes, you just have to get all the pieces of coverage and try to figure out like a cool angle that'll ground the whole thing like an ice master. And then other times you can get more creative and play with it and think of something else that will tell the story, but in a different way.
Yeah.
But I would say this cast is particularly good at that stuff. Like also hitting your marks during action and stuff like that. Like Lil and I have worked on shows where it's like, how do I open a door and carry a folder? And you guys are like shooting guns and tripping over stuff and you know, flashbangs are going off. And I remember on Eva, I think our very first episode, Lil and I looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, these guys are great. They're great.
Oh, that's so good. I think that's one of the joys of doing it for so long. We did 7 seasons. So by the time you get a couple seasons in, there's not much that you haven't done as an actor, especially in sci-fi, because you just do such bizarre things.
And there's more coming this season too.
So we're in the diner right now.
Oh, right.
A real diner? We didn't build this set, right?
No, this is a place outside of Lancaster, California, right, Nina?
Yep.
Known as Club Ed, and it's a set, and you'll see it in commercials all the time. You'll see it in music videos. Like there's some progressive commercial I see right now that like the diner is in there, and it's very picturesque and beautiful. And I feel like Nina if you work in LA, like you will shoot at this place at some point.
Yeah.
It was built for, I could Google it and probably find it. It was built for like Easy Rider or something. Like
yeah, there was some movie it was built for. And there's a gas station down the street from it, which is the gas station from Terminator 2. Like if you remember the scene where like Arnold Schwarzenegger just kind of stands.
Yeah.
That's like just down the street, and it's all sets.
Wow. So it was built, because there's sometimes when you shoot on location and the diner or whatever, it's not built to have big cameras in it. And so was this kind of set up in a way that it was a bit maybe easier to film in?
It was, and it just ended up working out perfect because we needed a diner and it had to be in the desert. And usually what happens is you don't have enough money to go to the desert, or you go to the desert, but it doesn't have the diner that you want. And so this was just perfect that we were able to, it's a blank space. They had like the counter exists in there, but nothing else was in there.
But
so,
yeah, you can move everything, right, Nina?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, everything. So Greg, the production designer, they brought in everything and dressed it, and we were able to look outside, and Transpo brought in all those really cool cars. So we were able to feel like we were in the right period. It was pretty cool.
And fun fact, this is the same diner where Shockley goes in and makes the phone call in the episode Boom as well. But we only see a corner of it, so we felt like we could use it again.
Reuse it, yeah. We get very creative when you are shooting in one city. And then Nina, when you do, and I guess Nora, you're on location scouts too, right?
I'm usually not on the scout, but I'm on the tech scout. So Nina sees everything first.
Right.
And then Lil and I usually join with the sort of department heads and everybody who goes on what we call the tech scout, which is like the final sort of walkthrough. And the script always changes when you walk through the space. And Nina's, always making plans. And I think everything changes once you get in there, right?
Yeah, it does. Like once you are in the place, and I love to take lots of pictures, and if I have the opportunity, like I'll go see it when I scout, and then I'll go back a second or a third time. And I love doing it with the DP and being able to like, this is what I was thinking, and then the DP will be like, this is what I was thinking, and then when we come together we get like a really great idea, and something blossoms out of it. So I spend a lot of time in the location. And I'm a fond person of like acting it out. Like I'll like run over here, and then I'll run over here, and I'll be over here. And then if I get writers who will join with me, then they can be one of the actors.
No, we stand there, we're like, okay, I'm Colson, and she's, but it's fun.
Just to let you know, there's just been the reveal of Simmons and Coulson, and who Simmons is.
Oh, great. I was trying to think today who came up with this idea. I couldn't remember in the room, but I think it was like one of those things where all of our brains went to the exact same place, and we were like, oh my God, Simmons has to be Carter. So that was
perfect. It
totally made sense, and it was like the perfect way to well, I don't want to reveal, but it just totally made sense. And then everybody in the room was like, oh my God, she's going to look amazing. And of course,
Oh, I mean, hair and makeup and costume just went to town. That's why when we were saying about how fun this episode is, it's just so fun for every department to get to push. And then, so Nina and Nora, like how much say do you have over hair and makeup, and how is that process and costume and everything? Like, how does that go?
There's usually a lot of conversation about it.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah, it does depend. There's a hair and makeup meeting. And for this episode, Jed was kind of lead on it. So
yeah, that's true.
And so it was really interesting. Like they were so into the period and like hearing his notes, and then hair and makeup coming with like what they thought.
Yeah.
And, we did tests on everybody.
Yeah.
And the great thing, because the hair and makeup department on S.H.I.E.L.D. had been together for so long, and they're just like such an amazing group of artists. They just nailed it. They just like, this is the period, and they would bring in photos of like what they were thinking, and we'd be like, yes, no, and then they created like masterpieces on everyone. And it was kind of like I felt like on this episode, when I directed an episode of Once Upon a Time, which was when the girls came out in their fairy outfits, I felt like a little girl. And when you guys came out in your period pieces, because I'd never done a period before, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like I get to direct something that is just so creative. And you guys just looked you looked amazing all the time, but it was just like, we were taken to a different place. And
yeah, totally. And I think RJ actually is watching at the moment, who is in the makeup team and specialized in special effects. So he's here. Hi, RJ.
Hey, RJ. Miss you. But yeah, all the departments, it's so fun to see them really like stretch their legs and just like have fun and go wild. Because I think, especially like the season where when you guys were all in the future, there was a lot of like everybody's wearing the same dirty clothes for a bunch of episodes.
Yeah.
So an episode like this, where we were just in the 30s, now you get to do this 50s look, is amazing. And it's happened to be on one other show where we got to do a 50s episode, and everybody just like has a blast doing it. And what always amazes me is how quickly the looks do come together.
Oh yeah.
Like the speed of it is insane.
Yeah. So how does that timeline go? So in the writer's room, you break the episodes, right? And you kind of have a rough idea of what's going to happen. And then are you assigned episodes to write? Or
yeah, I mean, you kind of know a little ahead of time. Some shows assign everything right out the door like from day one. And I think S.H.I.E.L.D. it sort of became who's available, who's up to bat kind of next, because especially in a season where we would have 22 episodes, it's like somebody's upset, somebody's back. And so whoever is the most available, sometimes that becomes their episode. But I think early on it was decided that Lil and I would do number 3. And we knew that it was either going to be the 40s or the 50s. I don't think we had immediately decided. And there was a notion at one point that we would do the Roswell crash as the sort of backdrop. And then I think we all discussed it, and Jed felt strongly like, oh, we got to do, Area 51 instead. And it was like perfect, and it fit with the MCU timeline and all that stuff. So
it's so perfect. And we've just walked into the laboratory where Julian's there.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, the outtakes of this scene have got to be golden. He was so funny. And just Clark in those glasses, and us both trying to be spy-like.
His glasses are like, these are like my favorite Clark glasses.
Oh my gosh, everyone looks so good. This scene, we're just doing the bit where he's showing us the different pieces of equipment. I can't believe that I'm watching this and none of us are laughing. So it must have been like 2 seconds.
So just so everybody knows, Julian, who plays Dr. Vega, is married to our director, Nina.
That's right.
And it was totally lucky. We had this like great part, and he was absolutely perfect for it. And
oh my gosh, perfect.
It was so we really lucked out. We were like, oh my God, yes, let's do this.
I know. And he honestly was so nervous because he just wanted to, like, he knows like how much I love my S.H.I.E.L.D. family, and he was just like, I just want to make sure he just wanted it to be so great, make sure everyone was happy. And because it was such a character piece, and it's like it could go all the way over here, it could go all the way over here, and he was just like so nervous that it wasn't going to be exactly what everybody wanted, and he just nailed it.
No, he was
great. My gosh, yeah, he brought it alive. Because that must be so satisfying too, Nora, when you write a character and you have a version in your head of what it's going to be, and then because on set, you kind of have to let that go, right? It's the director's job to direct the actor. And then
I mean, you have a little bit of say in casting. You can sort of, but in every show I've been on, I have always sort of said it's the director's choice and it's the showrunner's choice in the end. But most of the time you end up on the same page, I think. Nina, what do you think? I mean, I think for especially if it's a really poppy kind of character, I think everybody has something in mind.
Yeah, and I think when you do tone meetings, which are these like big meetings we do,
long meetings,
very long meetings, before we start shooting, we basically spend like 5 hours kind of breaking down like every scene and almost every line, and so once you're able to like jump into the showrunner and the writer's head and you see it, then it starts becoming more clear, and then you can take your ideas and take their ideas and start like melding them together, and then you see it. And Nora and Lila were just such great collaborators. So on the day, you know, we could like be like, talk about it and like come to, you know, a happy medium so that everybody was happy and make sure we were getting what everybody needed.
Right. And then when someone like Julian walks in, you know, that's such a nice moment where everyone goes, yes, that's him. This is perfect.
Yeah.
It is good. It's not always that way though. Sometimes you'll get one that walks in and not their fault, just because as a guest star, you audition, and nowadays most of the auditions are on tape. So you're not getting any direction whatsoever. And then you make a decision and you make a choice and you show up and you do your choice, and it's not a bad choice. It's just not the choice that we may have had.
Right.
And so you just have to find like this happy balance, because you don't want them to feel like they shouldn't make a choice. Because as a director, I always appreciate and love when an actor comes in with something,
right,
and you can build from there.
And a lot of times I think you make like a mental note of that actor. Like I know when Lil and I've worked on shows in Canada and like for Suits in Toronto, we would go, oh, that guy, he's not the part, but he's great, and we'll think of him later on in the season and stuff. And so you kind of have to keep your sort of, especially with local actors, you know, like that bank of like, okay. And on this show, we've done that a lot. There's people that have come in for stuff and we end up using them, you know, in another episode down the line.
To remember, right, to go, if you don't, because I've always, you know, you have to, as an actor, hold that close to your heart of like, you're not necessarily auditioning for that job. You're auditioning for the job down the line they might remember you for and might think you're right for. That's cool that you do that.
And the casting directors will be like, oh, I have exactly who you're talking about. And you've never seen him before, but they've seen him 3 times for something else or another show, and they know exactly. So it's great. And I feel like Michael Gaston was somebody we were really lucky to get for this episode. And he's so funny. Right. And Nina, from what I remember, he's based in New York, but happened to be in LA for another job and had the time, right?
I think so. Because I'd worked with Michael Gaston on Mentalist. And when we were looking over people, I was like, oh my gosh, he would be just so perfect for this role. And everyone agreed. And he was in town and he was able to come out and do it. And he was perfect.
Yeah, paid to be good to work with. And then people remember you.
If you work a lot, that's usually good.
Any jobs coming up. And then this is the first episode that Anvar's been in, right? Susa?
Yes.
We then get to meet Susa again.
How far are we in that? Are we there?
So we're just, we've met Susa. Simmons and Coulson have are starting to leave the laboratory, and now we're back in the Zephyr with Daisy and Deke looking over papers. And you started with such a cool shot, Nina, of over the table.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. That rig was actually pretty cool. Wait, are you talking about in the lab?
Yes.
Yeah, in the lab. So we had this, the rigging grips did this really cool thing where they had like metal wire going all the way across that whole set, like huge, and there was like 2, and then they put this like rig in the center.
Oh yeah, that was cool. I remember that.
Thrown in this cool piece of equipment that you can like pull off the rig and then just start walking around with it and use it as like a steady cam. And so they like spent all this time rigging this thing all the way across so that we were able to, we had shots that like go like straight across and then can come back and turn. So it was a pretty cool thing that they came up with when I pitched them this crazy thing that I wanted to do.
So do you go in and you say, I want to be able to shoot from up here looking down at the table, and they go, okay, how are we going to make that happen?
Yeah. And actually one of the people that I always had the most fun doing that with was another one of the DPs on the show, Kyle Jewell. Yeah, him and I were like 2 kids in like a candy store. We just like run around those sets and be like, what can we do now? Like, what haven't we done before? And so that was like one of those things that Kyle didn't do this episode, but he really, when I was like a newer director, helped like cultivate kind of those things and how we did things and how we shot things. And I always really loved that.
Yeah.
And Kyle began as a cameraman too. And that was sort of one of the fun things about this last season, really the last 2 seasons, was you got to see departments move people up. And people really like, that's the luxury of being on a show that's lasted as long as S.H.I.E.L.D. like people who start as cameraman end up as DP, and that was just really gratifying to see.
Yeah.
Oh, Lil, I think you froze. Oh no.
Right here. Am I back?
No, you're back. It's Lil. Lil's frozen.
Oh yeah, she is. It's always me, so I'm
I
always.
know. But yeah, that's such a fun thing about the show that's gone on as long as it has.
It has. And
Yeah.
then we also have to send some love. Alan shot this episode.
That's right. That's right.
And on this episode, we were going for more of like a Coen brother kind of a look. And so we did change things up and shot the show just a little bit different. If you watch it, a lot of the times we didn't do over the shoulders. We did clean POVs and clean footage. And it was fun. Oh no, Nora, it's us.
I think we lost. Oh no, everybody's going to be like, I've signed on for Elizabeth Henstridge. What are these two people doing?
What? How did we get stuck with these? And
I think she's
have the feed up right now. This is the worst.
Sorry, guys. I'm sure she's coming back. But no, this was a blast. And I think there's a shot of Coulson in the bus. There's this one shot, and I'm like, this is like it's as Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It looked like a Coen Brothers movie, and I was like, this is so great.
It was so
I'll do to you, darling.
It was fun. I will tell you guys a little funny, or maybe not funny, behind the scenes story. When we were shooting all the stuff for the exterior of the lab, we were out in a different part of the desert that was a little bit more green.
Yeah.
We show up at like 4:00 in the morning, and Julian had an earlier call time than I did, so we didn't drive in together. So Julian was driving, and to get into the location, you had to come like around this mountain. It was like a blind.
I remember, yeah.
And I was like coming around the corner, and you had to like stop to make the left-hand turn, and a car like rammed into the back of me. And
that's right.
It was like no one was hurt.
Right.
Taking our kids to school. It was dark out. And I just remember but every crew member was coming in as that happened. So it was just like, of course,
I know, we're like, oh, who got in an accident? And we're like, it's Nina. Oh.
I'm a self-proclaimed horrible driver. So I was just like, of course, but someone just said it on the walkie, and Julian was in like the hair and makeup chair, and all he heard was like, director got into a car accident, and he was like freaking out because he's like, oh my gosh, and he's like trying to get his hair and makeup done, and they're like trying to get in information, and I am just like mostly just embarrassed because
Oh no, that's always your nightmare. You're like, oh, it's gonna be me, but
Hi.
Oh, there she is. She's back. Yeah. Sorry, we lost you.
That just went down.
We just killed time telling the story about how Nina got in a car accident on our first day on location at the Area 51 site.
Did you really? What happened? Yeah. Oh no, I do remember that. Yeah. Oh, I do remember that.
It's okay.
But the location is actually a place called Mystery Mesa.
Yeah.
And I had never shot there before, but just about everybody has at some point. And it was in War of the Worlds and a bunch of stuff. Like you said, The Mentalist dude shot there at some point, or I can't remember, but everybody is shot there at some point. It's this really beautiful location in Santa Clarita. And of course, this was last spring, and there was the super bloom happening at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So we wanted this desert Area 51, and it's like beautiful and green and verdant and gorgeous. So, of course.
So good.
But it's like,
because
I think we're losing Lil again a little bit.
I think it's back.
Oh, there you are. Now you're back.
Am I back?
Tell Zach to stop downloading movies.
Yeah, Zach.
I know. For sake, Zach. He's here, and I don't know. There you go. Anyway, never mind. Do you see what scene we're on, Nina?
I don't. We are having internet trouble over here too, and so it's not. It's like if I turn on the internet.
Oh my gosh, what's happening?
The whole world is on the internet right now.
I hope they're all tweeting about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You probably have the script with me.
Oh.
I know, everybody's watching this stream, that's why. Let me see if we have any questions. Oh,
Sure.
happy birthday, Danielle. It's Danielle's birthday. People are saying good. People are saying they should be in school. Everybody's very excited about Susa.
Oh yeah.
I just am assuming that we're still live streaming, even though
I can hear you, but
completely,
your video's breaking up.
messed it up. Oh no. Oh, let me see. Oh, there we go.
Oh, Will's still frozen.
Oh no. Oh no. I know. I wish I could see the questions. I'm not.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, am I back now?
I think so, yeah. A little.
Oh my God.
You're breaking
so
up a bit.
Am I?
Everybody's somebody's asking how your dog is, Elizabeth. I'm looking at questions.
Oh, she's okay. She's a bit stiff. She has arthritis, but she's
Aw.
okay. Yeah, I know. Just in case I blip out again.
Uh-oh. Jeff Ward.
Oh, am I blipped out?
No, wait. It says Jeff Ward is connecting.
Jeff, what?
What?
This is almost like Mariah Carey.
Oh my God.
Guys,
Yes, Mariah's here.
I was just bumping my Mariah Carey too. That's a crazy coincidence.
Amazing.
Hey guys.
Nina and Nora meet Jeff Ward's mustache.
Jeff
This
Ward
is insane. What is this, a
Right
quarantine
now.
thing?
This is just, I think, who I've always been inside, and now I'm realizing it.
Oh,
This is,
I love it.
I have to shave it off soon, and I feel sad. I really have grown attached to the little guy.
Oh. Did you name it? Did we name it? I forget.
We didn't. You want to now?
Yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead.
let's see. We'll put it out to the chat. If
Oh,
we're
that's
still
a good
streaming,
idea.
I've no
Can you
idea.
see the chat? How do you see the chat?
Oh,
Well,
it's
you
on
have
the
to go
YouTube.
to the YouTube.
Yeah.
The
All right,
YouTube,
well-
that's what you call it.
The YouTube. Yeah. I watched the episode last night. Great job, you guys.
Aw.
It was so good.
Thanks.
It really made me laugh. I was
You doing it?
what?
You're really funny in this
You in it?
episode, sir.
It was so fun to. Do you remember when we were doing the zipping of the tent?
Oh,
I was trying to go so slow, and both of you guys were like, "Okay, I like the idea. It's good. Just oh my god, you have to go faster."
we only have 42 minutes of television.
Jeff Ward challenges my directing at every moment.
But in the most loving way, though, right?
Most loving way.
It's a very Nina has you're absolutely one of my favorite directors.
That is so weird because I'm so mean to you.
Yeah, you're incredibly mean to me, but you just are also good. So it's
No,
fun.
she's great.
I'm just kidding.
No,
Yeah, because you have such a plan, and then that just feels very secure. And then, as an actor, you feel like, okay, I've got room to maybe try and push against this because there's a plan.
somebody in chat suggested it should be called Agent Cole Stash. So
Ah,
That's
I'm
pretty good.
Gosh,
let's
that's so
get that
good.
trend.
that's pretty good.
Come on,
I gotta
guys.
say.
Jeff, did you enjoy doing this episode mainly because it was Nora and Lila writing it and Nina directing it?
That's the only reason I liked it.
Right.
Are they here still?
So, right here.
No, it was this episode was it's weird. I totally forgot about the scene with me and Henry at the end. I guess that
Oh
is-
yeah.
We
Well,
haven't got to that part
Sorry,
yet.
sorry. That
I've
really made
lost
me
my-
laugh because I
it's a great button
about
on
that.
that. Yeah.
It was a lot of there was a bunch of parts that made me and it was the first time I ever saw anything with Enver. It was the first time I ever saw any Sousa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sousa's
So
here.
And P.S. Gotta shout out my girls Peggy Carter.
Oh, that has been out.
Yeah.
Sorry, is that a spoiler? What time? is it?
No, they know already.
I know.
Yeah.
The
You
best
got
part about that was whenever feet weren't shown, that I'd have this incredible outfit on and then just the most ugliest, comfiest shoes possible.
You kidding? That was my first 4 episodes. Was me trading out my New Balances because of my broken toe.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
that's right.
That
Did you
was
break your toe on the last episode or this episode?
first. It was 2 days before the first episode. We had
First
4
episode.
months off, and then 2 days before I broke my toe.
Oh,
Because
how
you
it is.
walked funny, right?
Yeah, well, thanks for calling it funny. It was just
You walked into something. You and Ian both have toe breaking issues.
well, his was stitches,
Ugh.
Yeah.
and
So he was
I had
braver
to
than
take
you,
him
is what
into
you're
the
saying.
hospital for ripping his foot open in Jed Mo's pool.
So that was really their fault too.
It was, but it
Yeah.
ended up being a great day. We had a
Yeah.
great time. He had a lot of fun. It was great for all of us. What was your
good.
guys' favorite moment from this episode that's aired so far?
Ooh, that's aired so far.
ooh, you're really testing me.
Oh yeah. Well, none of us have got our live
Nina,
stream.
you have a plan, so you should
Note it
remember
down.
what's
Yeah,
aired
yeah.
up to this minute.
You know, I think actually my favorite is just seeing seeing Simmons and Coulson like drive up in that car to the Area 51
Yeah,
base,
that
and like
was a great moment.
like everything in the background, and like army guys, and like you looking fabulous, and then Enver, you know,
Enver was pretty great.
and then there's that shot where it's like you guys walk out and then Enver sort of comes in, and that whole sequence was such a fun.
Fanboy Clark is pretty great too.
yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
love
Great.
anytime Coulson sees like the people who he knows who they are, it's a fun game. I like that.
and
Well,
when Clark was on the bus too.
Oh, that was fun.
That
Yeah.
was a pretty.
Oh
That-
yeah.
And we had this idea of him doing the Blade Runner test, Voight Comp test, which is like what they do in Blade Runner to tell if you are a replicant. So
That's
I'm gonna
great.
nerd out a little bit. And so we were like, okay, A, he has to do that. B, he basically is like a replicant.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very meta and super funny. And then the woman.
That's right. I got a good picture of you and Clark sitting next to each other, Elizabeth, when you were given the tests. I love.
Oh yeah,
This was a good
really fun.
episode. I really liked this episode. It was really good.
It was so good. And that scene was so funny, Nina. How do you shoot for comedy? How is that different? Or is it different?
No, it is different.
Shut up, Jeff.
I'm not laughing. I'm listening.
You are laughing.
Here when you have funny people.
Yeah.
See?
Well, that sequence, are we there yet? We've seen that
I
scene,
don't know.
right?
I'm just trying to relog in. My
I
internet
know.
back up. Nobody.
Mine won't let me log back in. So the scene with Clark was super fun, and because Clark is so collaborative, like he'll do whatever crazy note I give him, or any of you guys will, and so you'll give him like one action, and he will like just run with it. So the bus scene was just so awesome, and I will say the extras and all those people, almost all of them were extras, were
They were great.
spot on. Like
Yeah.
they just held their own and just reacted perfectly, and that was the key, I think, to the whole thing. Was
Guy who started crying, was he an extra? That is amazing. He was.
They were-
Well, the guy in the lab, he was an actor, but
Yeah.
the people in the bus
on the
were not.
bus. Yeah.
But the thing in the lab, actually, I thought was really interesting because Nina, the way you shot it, because you park a camera and then you're shooting all of one side, and then you shoot all of the other side. So you're like, is this funny? I think it's funny. I don't know, but until you really see it all cut together, you don't know. And I remember on the day going like, I don't know if this is going to be as like the scene that I imagine, because the rhythm is not there because you're only shooting like one side, and it's all quick cuts and stuff.
I got to shout out Nina too, because was that a Wes Anderson shot of all of the
Yeah, I
times
loved
they
that
see
one.
each other?
Yeah.
That one was pretty great. I
love that shot. That was so great.
My when Alan and I were coming up with how we wanted to shoot it, and we wanted to kind of step out of the box, I really was pulling from the Coen brothers, was like my inspiration. And so that's where we kind of got the look of the show, and I will be honest, out of all of the episodes I've ever directed, this was the one I was the most nervous, because this was the furthest from what you guys normally do. Like we really kind of changed the look of the show on this episode. But I was like, it's my last one. I'm just kidding. We talked about it a lot.
Yeah. No, but I think
I was nervous.
it's one of the things that you sort of, as we're going from period to period, we were kind of like, okay, like in the 30s, you can have that fun of like a 30s, like shot movie or whatever. And that's the fun of the title cards and all that stuff. And I don't want to spoil what's coming next in the season, but we have a lot of fun. So
It's got
this
some.
was
Just
this
an
was a
FYI,
blast.
my streaming's back up and running, so
Oh, good.
I
Oh,
can
good.
tell you
Freaking out.
it's
Yeah, so
commercials
what's
right
happening?
now. It's
Are you okay?
I'm okay. Nathan filling in from the rookies on some sort of commercial.
Well,
commercial?
you
For feeding
also
America.
have a superpower of going very slowly.
I'm going slowly.
No.
Yeah, it like slowed down and was a very perfect robot sound.
Oh, good.
Thematic for the episode.
Nina, can you talk about how, I mean, this is probably quite a big question, but like, how did you start in directing? Because it feels like one of those roles that is
Here, let me translate. Nina,
quite mystifying. Like, how do you become a director?
How do you become a director, right?
Okay,
Am I slow again?
No, you're good.
you're good. Jeff, pass it back.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks so much.
So for me, I started as an assistant. I was an assistant to a producing director named Chris Long. He was my mentor, and he gave me this really great gift where he let me sit behind him, and in every meeting for 8 years, I was with Chris, and I was
Wow.
able to just like gain all his knowledge and how to shoot, and by doing that, I was on a show called The Mentalist. And I got to also sit behind all the other guest directors that were there for all those seasons. And so when I wasn't working, I would just go to set and sit there and just kind of soak it all in, kind of like you were doing when you were shadowing me. And so I got to learn from all these really great directors what works and what doesn't work. And I got to, sit behind some really, really great female directors as well. And I was able to literally mimic some of the things that they did and then turn them into my own. And I think a big part of becoming a director is you have to know the camera stuff and you have to know the shots and you have to figure that all out. But I think the most important thing, or at least to me, is being able to work with the actors. And I think I learned most of that from Julian, from my husband. Because he allowed me to see acting from the other side, the side that we don't get to see, the side when they go home and they're prepping, and the amount of work and heart that goes into an audition that most of the time you don't get. And so being able to appreciate the actor from a different point of view, that changed me as a director. And so being able to speak in a specific way to actors and make them feel comfortable, like that's the most important thing to me. Like if you trust me, I promise I won't let you down. And so that was a big part for me in directing. And I think getting more than one episode on shows was because, my priority was to turn over a good show, but first and foremost was working with the actors and being able to, get a performance that maybe was a little bit different or a little bit deeper than the episode that became after mine or before mine.
Yeah, because I mean, as an actor, you have a different director most episodes, and favorites like you get to come back and we fight for you with other shows to get you back, but you do put a lot of trust in them. And I guess as a writer as well, is that it's your words and then you kind of hand them over to somebody else to make them come to life. Do you find that process hard, Nora?
I think it's a little odd, but most shows that I've worked on, like we've gotten to be on set and we've gotten to really sort of meet the director and work with them, and I think that's been fortunate. It's not that way with like every writer's career, but with Shield certainly, and on the show I'm on now, Prodigal Son, we go through actually all of prep and production with the director. So I'm in New York for like 3 weeks for that show. But it's really fun. And then the director always brings something really new to it and has a different point of view. And there's always something that you've written that either doesn't make sense, or when somebody says, but what do you really want to see here? And it pushes you to be a better writer. So I think going through prep and having a good director, and also seeing how directors solve problems is really fun too. And it makes you be nimble as well and not be tied into exactly what you're going to do. Because one of the most fun things about watching Nina work is when we're running out of time, or when, we lose light or whatever, all of a sudden she's got like a new exciting idea of how to make it work. And it always does. It's like magic. She has a magic trick.
I have a good example of that involves Jeff Ward.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
We were doing, what was our last episode?
Was that The Sign, when we're in the jungle?
The Sign.
Yeah.
We're in the jungle. And it was when you're putting on the pack to like teleport, and it's a huge scene, and it was a super emotional scene, and it was the end of the day. And we had the second unit crew. So we didn't have any of our normal camera guys, like none, because they took everybody on the other episode.
And that was that huge, it was like one of our biggest days.
It was like, and it was like a 45-pound pack, and they were like, Jeff can handle it. Just have him down a hill with this like huge backpack. It was great.
And everything was supposed to be on Steadicam that day, and we didn't get Bill. So we brought in this other guy who was really good, but Bill is one of the best Steadicam operators that I think anybody's ever worked with.
The best.
And so we have somebody else, and I remember it's the end of the day, and it's this big emotional scene, and we've got to get through it, and poor Jeff is just like pouring his heart out. And then I remember looking at Kyle Jewell, and I was just like, I don't know what to do, Kyle. Like, we have to do this. And literally the camera is chasing Jeff around, and Kyle just walks away, and I like turn around, I say something to like Jeff, and then I turn back around, and Kyle put on his operating tennis shoes. And I just, like, looked at him like, yes, and like Kyle like grabs the camera, like puts it on his shoulder, and just like chases Jeff around for like an hour and a half, just him and his shoes. And it was one of those things, like that's not how we planned to shoot that scene, but because of like the passion that Jeff was bringing, and like what I wanted, and Kyle knew he could just see what I wanted, and he's just like, we're gonna do this, and we just did it, and it turned out. It was beautiful. That
was one of my favorite scenes I've done, and that was us too.
Yeah,
that was all.
And it turned out perfectly, because it has this. It's because obviously Deke is hilarious, but it had this like pathos to it, but it was still funny, and it was like, and that was the like, I survived.
It was the turning point for my character.
Yeah.
Because it was like I felt like there was so much that was happening. That kind of like that scene felt like it snapped everything into focus from like kind of since I came onto the show.
Yeah.
And it really like that was a really important scene to me. And I think that in my mind, there was everything before that scene and there was everything after that scene. Because I think the entire season 7 is actually really informed by that moment.
And that was, I think is sort of you were part of the team, but it's like you became a SHIELD agent, so to speak. Like it really made you put yourself on the line for it.
You guys killed that. You
guys,
guys,
it was really fun.
You like you guys and Kyle. I remember Kyle was pouring sweat.
Yeah.
He was running, and I was like, because remember we were trying to put together the pack, and I kept cutting myself because it was like jagged metal edges, like. Oh man, those are the days that you go home and it's like weird because you feel like a lot of people are like, yeah, it's like being in battle, and like it sounds very hyperbolic, and it is hyperbolic compared to being in battle, but there is like I lost 5 pounds that day, like like there was a real sense of like it kind of like pushed me to my limit. I think it pushed you guys to your limit, and like we just had to kind of make it up and make it happen, and like that was a cool one.
That was
well,
really
that's
fun.
like what makes set's so fun and why it's so addictive is because you're in this environment where if everybody's doing their job, everybody wants to make something special. And when you see an actor bring something that you kind of feels like it's magic, you pull every string, and like Kyle, who wouldn't usually pick up a camera as a DP, is just like up for it. And like, just that image of him putting his little tennis shoes on and then being drenched in sweat, and him having a director that's like, yeah, go do it. Let's see what we get. This isn't the plan, but let's just figure it all out. Like, it's such a magic moment.
It was really, really,
It was fun.
It was very cool.
How did you get into writing, Nora? Was it a similar kind of apprenticeship type thing?
Well, I am one of the rare people that I always knew I wanted to write, and then I knew I wanted to go to film school. So all 4 years of college, I was at USC in the writing program for film school. And then Lila came to it a little later, but we ended up starting to work together in our real break. And if anybody is watching that wants to write television, we went through the Warner Brothers television workshop, which is a very competitive program to get into, but that was like our biggest break. And our first big job coming off of that program was Fringe, which is a show that probably a lot of SHIELD fans watch because it's this very cool sci-fi show. And so that was our story. The second season of Fringe was like our first real season.
I didn't know you wrote for Fringe. That's
yeah.
Awesome.
And that was like a real experience. And that was 22 episodes like we do, really crazy pace. And
which is interesting because that's pretty much dying.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like, for generally speaking, and it is like, I'm kind of grateful that I got to do one season of that, because it's like, I probably won't ever do that again. And like, it's wild to do 22 episodes. That is, I don't think people understand how much that is. Like, 10 months straight of trying to tell one story.
Yeah.
Like, it's mental. And you guys as writers and directors, it's like.
But you always think you're going to run out. That's why you need a team. You always think you're going to run out of ideas. And then there's always one voice in the back of the room going, but what if? And then you're like, oh, okay, now. Yeah. Okay. We got it.
What if Deke straps a very heavy backpack on for 3 episodes?
I told them to make it very light, and they were like, it's going to be fine.
It's fine. We packed literal hand weights onto it to make sure that it would be good enough.
The day you had to put it on had to seem easy compared to the day you had to run down the tunnel.
The tunnel.
Oh, God.
The tunnel, because also it was so heavy. And those tunnels were so narrow that I would be running down, and like, you remember, like, we had that turn, so like that we used, and like I ran down, and when I would round the corner, I felt the weight of the backpack taking me to the side. So I was like, I felt like a cartoon. Like, that was crazy.
It kind of worked for the moment too.
Yeah,
We're just watching a big Coulson fight at the moment.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Fighting. Oh no, I thought it was Julian. It's not. Is it?
No, it's a different stunt actor. Yeah.
Okay,
and then everybody, one fun fact for everybody to know: Jesse, who plays the Chronicom that May with, is actually in real life an American like ninja warrior. Right? She's like a champion.
Yeah, remember when we all figured that out? It was like like Mariah Carey was on set.
I know. And then it's funny. Jesse, who plays
the Lady Chronicom.
Oh, right.
She's like a champion on the show. Yeah, like
I worked with her.
Yeah, she was on. I think maybe a month or so after we shot the episode, I was flipping around. And it was like one of the semifinals, and I was like, "There she is!" And she's like, "Crap!" I mean, she's amazing.
The way she climbed on things was just like.
Yeah, she's climbing on a thing right now.
Yeah, she was so good, and she was really good actor too. So it was very perfect.
Yeah, and she looks like she's fighting in the most uncomfortable costume. Like as the girls and maybe the boys as well were like having to walk on gravel in these like tight little shoes, and then obviously we were moaning loudly to each other about it, and then she comes along and just does the most incredible fight scene.
And also she's attached to this thing. So
She's like a rig, right? Or
we
something?
have this rig, like, is that the part where we're at right now? They're down.
Yes,
Right?
we've just
Okay.
we've just done that bit, yeah.
So she has this thing attached to her stomach, which is like this rig that goes all around your body. And then we stick like this tube into her. So not only is she like fighting, but she's fighting with a tube attached to her.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
20 feet up into this like rig at the top of the platform. And just like, it was nothing, just like over and over again. And actually that day, Ming, they had the wrong size shoes for her.
Yeah, she was in shoes that were like 3 sizes too big for her
Which
or something, and had to
It's
fight.
like, so the wardrobe department, like, it was just like a mistake, something happened, but she didn't tell anybody for like the first part of the day. And actually we were doing a second unit, so I was like going back and forth between the top of the hill and the bottom of the hill because we were doing all the stuff up top. And I finally come down and she's like in tears and she's like, my feet just hurt so bad, and they're like all bloody and stuff. So like both of them were doing like these crazy things in the midst of a lot.
Any stunt actor that I have worked with on this show is nuts. they are like, I remember, do you remember, this is like, it's weird because it seems like an innocuous one, but there was a scene that I did that I think Kevin directed, I want to say, that was, I like baseball slid into a vent.
Oh yeah, that was our episode too.
You wrote that, right?
yeah.
Remember that one?
And the guy who just fell.
Yeah. And he lifted and he just fell. But it was Sean, who was my stunt actor.
Yeah.
Who he like, cause it's like me sprinting and I had an arm. Remember I had an arm.
Yeah,
sling?
that's right.
So I'm like sprinting in a sling and I like go into it and then we cut and
Of
like,
course.
because I was like, so how are we going to do this? And they start sprinkling salt onto the concrete floor. And I was like, cool, what's the salt for? Because that like, and they were like, oh, it's so he can slide. And I was like, but it's still concrete. And they were like, yeah, and it's, and he comes in and baseball slides through the salt, like, and kicks in the vent. And I was like, are you okay, man?
Yeah.
He got up and he was like, yes, I'm fine.
Fine. And
was
then
like,
later
oh,
you're hiding there and you see a guy die and you literally see him like just dead fall into frame. And the guy did it like 3 times. And it was like,
and they kept being like, don't brace your fall with your arms. Fall onto your face.
onto your face. It was insane.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh.
I lost
Elizabeth,
you for a
can
second.
I
I'm
ask you a
back.
question?
I know, I just got so bored of you. Yeah, I didn't. My internet ran out.
Oh no.
It doesn't run out. That's not how the internet works.
Yeah, what were you going to say? I don't want to. Are you in the tag? Is that what this is?
Oh yeah, we got to watch.
Henry in the
Yeah.
tag.
Oh, the
Okay.
tag is so great.
The
Yeah.
tag.
You and Henry in the tag.
It's very
We're
fun.
not there yet. We're not there yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, all right, so I got a question for you, Elizabeth. After
Yeah.
your cheeky, unnecessary sarcasm,
Sorry. It's just a mustache, Cole stash. Just brings it out of me.
I was gonna say,
Please.
what was something that you learned from shadowing Nina? Because I remember that you were shadowing her. Maybe
Yes.
you remember that maybe
Ooh, good
would
question.
have something maybe you could use later on if it came up.
I mean, I have learned so much from Nina, obviously. Always have a plan. You were always so meticulous in coming in with a plan and then being super flexible. Oh my gosh, you're here. The tag's here.
Oh my gosh.
Turning it
Oh
up.
my gosh! I
One of
realized
my
I-
favorite
Hold that
moments.
thought.
It's
You're on, is what you said.
Oh. Go ahead, keep narrating it.
Oh, and then the guy is
Matt
like,
gets the good.
yeah,
He gets all the good
it's
stuff.
very
The-
sunny. Oh my
Henry's
gosh, he was
face
so
when he
funny.
says probed is
It's
so
so
good.
My
It's so
favorite
good.
thing in the show is watching you and Henry do like comedy together, as you can tell,
my
because we've
gosh.
done it in now at least 2 episodes for you and Henry with
It's fun.
Code
too.
Yellow in this. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I especially felt like after Code Yellow, at the beginning of this season that was getting fostered more, and that
Yeah.
was exciting.
It's such a
You're
like
really
fun
enjoying this
relationship.
scene.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had a great time.
Oh, off you go. And all the music and everything.
Oh,
Oh, now you're flying off in the Zephyr.
I want
So
an
good.
Now that
hour
guy's
long. I
talking.
want a full show of just Elizabeth watching the show right here,
Yeah.
and just kind of like every few minutes, like, okay,
Well, you know what you should do? Rewatch
Maybe
this
I
YouTube
am.
live.
I
Sync it
want
up.
you alone. I
The
don't
West
want you
Coast.
to have. I don't want you to have the life raft of a conversation with other people. I
Sure,
want
it just has
just
to be me.
you close up watching it.
Okay, maybe I'll do that next week. I'll do a preview for next week. The other thing I was going to say about shadowing Nina is one thing I always take with me, Nina, is when you say stand near the cameraman, like as much as you can, because once you get a good relationship with the crew, which you're also meeting all these people for the first time, then you get those magic moments like you're talking about with Kyle, that they trust you and you trust them, and you have this great rapport, and you just have such a good relationship with everybody on set, like all the different departments. And
Everybody
if you can
really
get a cast and a
respect you,
crew
yeah.
and the writers to love you, like, or you appreciate them and want their ideas, that's why your episodes are so that episode was so good.
It was very
Well
good.
done, Nora and
Yes.
Nina.
Oh.
Stuck in a
Well
Well
house.
done, Nina.
guys.
Well done,
Make me
Lil. Well
cry.
done, Jeff. And
cry.
we should also say the reason that Nina got to do this episode instead of one later was because she went off to go be the producing director of A Million Little Pieces, which is also on ABC. So if you guys are fans of that show, then it's all Nina's.
It's all connected.
It's all it's all
the
connected.
Lopez
All in the
Corrado verse.
Hey Jeff, you missed this, but it's Danielle's birthday. So could you just say happy birthday to Danielle? It's Lauren's friend Danielle.
Danielle, I actually was worried that we weren't going to get this moment. I just want to say, first of all, happy birthday, but it feels so trite. Let's get into
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank
you, guys.
you so much, you guys. This was so fun.
Thank you,
Thanks for
guys.
hosting, Lil.
Having
Oh.
us.
Great job, Nora. Great job,
Thank you,
Nina.
guys.
So great.
Yeah.
It's
Great
so good
job.
seeing your faces. And
I know, I miss you
know.
guys.
And your stash.
Oh yeah, and Cole Stash.
Cool stash.
Jeff Ward, are you going to Vancouver again?
I'm done in Vancouver. I can't believe it because we had 5 months in Vancouver and we're finally
And
finished.
Nina
and now
managed to
Vancouver's
ignore
going.
you the whole time.
That's
How did
so
that happen?
funny. Oh wait,
Always busy.
really
How weird.
last thing. This is 10
Yeah.
seconds. I'm in the elevator coming down from my apartment in Vancouver in December. And I like get in and I was on my way to the airport. I was very disheveled. Elevator door opens 2 floors down from my apartment in Vancouver. Who gets on? Kyle Jewell.
Oh,
Spoiler.
Yeah, and he was like, we were both
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? We both lived in the same apartment
Aw.
building. And
I brought Kyle Jewell up to do A Million Little Things.
that's
Oh,
what he was doing.
yes.
That's what he was doing.
Shield family taking over the world.
Yeah.
Oh, Shield Mafia.
Shield Mafia.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's all get tattoos of that, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, love you guys. Thank you for this.
Love you guys.
Love
Thank
you
you. And thanks
guys.
everybody for
Bye.
tuning in.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Miss y'all. Love y'all.
Shield for life.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Bye.